Hey guys, TrepChains here on the Diablo IV Beta with some gameplay highlights from my Barrage Rogue. The build I'm running on my Rogue includes Forceful Arrow as the basic skill, which has been enhanced, Barrage as the core skill, which has been both enhanced, and I've taken Advanced Barrage, which gives me extra critical strike chance if it ricochets at least 4 times. As an agility skill, I am using Dash, which I think is literally the best movement skill for the Rogue. Highly recommend. As a subterfuge skill, I like using Dark Shroud. This just provides me with some damage reduction to basically help me live. In imbuement, I am using cold, so this is a cold barrage build, and I have done the enhancement on that cold and selected an upgrade, which means critical strikes when I do have this cold imbue on do have a chance to freeze enemies. For my ultimate skill, I have selected Shadow Clones, which again I think is brilliant. When you've got these Shadow Clones they are going to be mimicking the skills you're using. So my Shadow Clones will also be using both my basic attack as well as my Barrage, which is awesome. And I have upgraded that slightly so that I do become unstoppable. In this beta build, we haven't got enough skill points to get down to the passives, but you can just quickly see here, these are the kinds of passives that you could pick for my build. Something like Precision would be really good because my skills like Barrage are marksman skills, so that would help me out with more damage. Some legendary stats that are also helping and will be apparent in this gameplay include a magical bubble protecting me from my amulet, 3 Dark Shroud shadows from my helm, considering I'm primarily using marksman skills as my attack, smoke grenades allowing me to dodge from my pants, and arrow storms raining down on enemies from the legendary stat on my dagger. Finally, I'm also picking up some attack speed from my core skill, which is Barrage, from my other dagger. I am wearing a legendary ring, but it's not helping me out because I'm not using trap skills as part of this build. So that's the build being used in this combat gameplay on my Barrage Rogue now. All this footage has been taken during the Diablo IV Beta across areas and dungeons in Act 1, Fractured Peaks. Overall, I've really enjoyed the Diablo IV Beta, the darkness, the world, and my Rogue. It's worth noting that in Diablo 4, I feel like the hatred, the evil, the darkness starts with people. Barrage here, I feel, is a perfect skill to fit my rogue fantasy, with multiple arrows flying off in the general aim direction. The other skills here are all just supporting a ranged marksman's basic attack, a cold imbuement to chill and freeze, some damage reduction via the Dark Shroud, a decent movement skill with Dash, and my ultimate being the Shadow Clone for more damage, especially with doubling up on Barrage. While we haven't experienced endgame yet, the developers were clear when we chatted to them in late 2022 that they would aim for build variety to allow us to play our way. They would do this through continual monitoring and balancing. So hopefully I'm going to be able to keep the ranged rogue style I love. Fingers crossed that I can keep Barrage, even if I switch around a lot of the supporting skills. Barrage is really what I like most about my Rogue. While continuing to take a look at my Barrage Rogue across the Fractured Peaks, Act 1 of Diablo IV, Let's also reflect on some Diablo lore, starting with Rathma's prophecy. I saw my corpse, and from my mouth scrawled hatred. A father burned his children on a pyre, and a mother moulded a new age from the ashes. I saw the weak made strong, a pack of lambs feasting on wolves. Tears of blood rained on a desert jewel, and the way to hell was torn asunder. Then came a spear of light, piercing hatred's heart, and he who was bound in chains was set free. The Sin War from the Book of Cain. It is written that the angel Inarius, the first father of humankind, wandered the world in grief for ages after the massacre of his fellow renegade angels and demons by his lover, Lilith. Inarius had observed humanity, watching us face challenges and overcome obstacles. It is heavily suggested by some accounts that he had even come to favour mortals, for he saw us, unlike our ancient ancestors, as no threat. It is further stated that when Inarius learned of the triune religion, he recognized the prime evil's deception immediately, and feared not only for his own safety, but also for that of his adopted children, should heaven become aware of humanity's existence. And so the texts tell us that Inarius created his own religion to counter the influence of the triune. Taking on the mantle of the prophet, Inarius founded a gospel based on the tenets of tolerance, cooperation, and unity. He disseminated this doctrine from his Cathedral of Light, gaining fame for his youthful physical perfection and spreading the church's influence through angelic powers of persuasion. Soon, between them, the Triune and the Cathedral of Light held sway over much of the eastern land.
Time to do that.
Having studied the matter in great detail, I conclude that Inarius' founding of the Cathedral of Light is the true beginning of the Sin War. Much of what I will relate of the Sin War and its history is taken from the mysterious books of Cain. The identity of their author, except his name, is unknown, as is the exact time of authorship. It is my belief that the books were written during the time of the Sin War, and later edited and compiled by other unknown hands. The Sin War, at its inception, was not waged on physical battlefields. It was a struggle between the Triune and the Cathedral of Light, to claim the hearts and souls of humankind. Agents of both religions carried their messages to the people, building bases of power, constructing monuments, and winning the absolute loyalty of faithful supplicants. Into the midst of this battle for dominance came a single human, Odyssean, a man who would break the cycle and rise, not only challenge both religions, but also ultimately bring an end to the Sin War, for a staggering chain of events, shaking the foundations of both the heavens and the hells in the process. Odyssean's story began in a small village where he lived with his youngest brother, Mendeln, and a few close friends. It was here that Odyssean first discovered his Nephilim powers, while defending a woman named Lilia from a priest representing the Cathedral of Light. Odyssean learned that he was capable of awakening Nephilim powers in others. He travelled from town to town, demonstrating to others that they did not need either the Triune or the Prophet and his Cathedral of Light. And as Odyssean's abilities evolved, so too did the powers of his family, friends, and followers, who would come to be known as the Edirim, or those who have seen.
While pursued by both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light, Odyssean cultivated his powers, growing in strength day by day, until his abilities were far beyond those of any other human. Lilia, however, was soon revealed to be none other than Lilith, the demon daughter of Mephisto, returned from exile. It was Lilith who had awakened the Nephilim abilities in Odyssean. It was her desire to empower mortals so they might drive both Inarius and the agents of the burning hells from Sanctuary. But she was willing to sacrifice mortal lives to see this plan unfold. Once her true nature was revealed, Lilith departed, though she would return over the course of the war to torment Odyssean again. At this time, the forces of the Triune clashed repeatedly with Odyssean and his Edirum, and it was soon revealed that the Triune was held under the sway of demonic influence. Odyssean declared war on the Triune, obliterating its churches and decimating its holy armies. Observe, dear reader, that the mortal Odyssean succeeded in bringing the sin war to a halt. Humankind, not angels or demons, would ultimately win the sin war. Odyssean soon learned of the Worldstone and achieved the unthinkable, altering its attunement to allow the powers of his Edirum to flourish. The Edirum then came into conflict with Inarius himself. The battle between mortals and Inarius' forces rocked the core of our world. It is said that Inarius, in danger of losing his battle with Odyssean, panicked, realizing how wrong he had been about humanity's weakness. In that moment, he feared that mortals were even more dangerous and abominable than the ancients. It was then that Tyrael himself intervened. Reacting to the seeming injustice of Odyssean's actions against Inarius, Tyrael called forth the angelic host of the high heavens. Hundreds of angels descended upon Sanctuary. Much to the surprise of everyone present, however, the ground erupted as the burning hells joined the battle as well. The fears of Lilith and Inarius were realized as the eternal conflict raged on the world of man. Odyssean unleashed the whole of his power, releasing a seemingly impossible amount of energy, driving the forces of both heaven and hell back to their domains, and demonstrating once and for all that humankind truly had the ability to alter the very fabric of our universe. Odyssean realized that the power he and his Edirum possessed was tearing Sanctuary apart. It was too much, gained too quickly. He felt also that he was losing himself, that his Nephilim birthright was consuming his humanity. And he saw in that moment the potential for Nephilim power to do the same to all of humankind. And so, in an act of the purest selflessness and sacrifice, which proved beyond a doubt that some humanity still remained within him, Odyssean brought the raging energies back into himself, then released them one final time. The release of those energies negated his very being. It has been suggested in the books of Cain that Odyssean's final release of energy flooded the Worldstone, resetting it, and thereby stripping his followers of their Nephilim powers. And so it was that Odyssean had chosen the human heart over godhood and ultimately gave his life so that humanity might survive. In the wake of these incredible events, I can only imagine that the burning hells were emboldened to discover that their suspicions of humankind's potential were proved correct. As for the angels, it is said that the Endurous Council voted on whether humanity should be allowed to live. It is reported that Imperius voted to exterminate our race. Malthael abstained, so his vote was not counted, while Oriel and Ethereal voted on our behalf. Imperius was confident that Tyrael would vote to eliminate humanity, and he knew that even if the deliberation ended in a tie, humankind would be eradicated. And so it fell to the Archangel Tyrael to cast the deciding vote. I believe that it was here that Tyrael broke from his rigid outlook. He had witnessed Odyssean's heroic and very human act, and he became fascinated with mortal hearts, believing that perhaps the universe cannot be defined by laws alone. Tyrael saw in us the possibility for complete ruin, but hope as well, for us to become what many of the angels themselves wished they could be. And so it was that the Archangel of Justice cast his vote in favour of sparing humankind.
I need time to do that.
As humanity's right to exist was assured, a truce was brokered between the Andurus Council and the Lords of the Burning Hells. As a condition of this truce, Anarius was delivered to the demons for mutilation and eternal torment. As for the Edorim, it is written that the angels removed all memories of those events from their minds. Their Nephilim powers were forgotten, and mortal life returned to some semblance of normality. And what of Lilith? Accounts suggest that earlier in the conflict, before the prophet, or the veiled prophet as a few scholars would later call him, clashed with Odyssean, Anarius had banished Lilith once again. There are no further accounts of her interfering in the affairs of mortals. Though the Sin War faded quietly into history, it is imperative that we recognize its import, for it stands as a testament to the sheer power that all human beings carry within them. And, I would argue, it is a war that echoes within each of us to this very day.